Hey everybody, welcome to the Artist Alley Aftermath edition for the Faith and Fandom podcast. This is for the fourth Friday Nerd Market of May 2025. And also going to throw in my art sale for the next day, because that's how we roll. This is the second Nerd Market, or this is the second fourth Friday I've done in Fayetteville this season. This is the first Nerd Market. And in general, these are events where vendors pay like $50 to set up in downtown Fayetteville for 3 hours, which 3 hours for $50 is not the greatest price point, but in the same breath, it's not the worst either, because it is kind of a large number of people. I want to say they said, by the numbers that I saw on their social media, they had about 10,000 people come through. I don't know if it was like legit that many, but I also wasn't paying attention. There's a lot of people walking. But this was, I didn't do this one by myself, and I think this is one of the things I just want to drive home that I realized more than anything is doing this stuff with someone is a million times better than doing it alone. All day, every day, twice on Sunday, a million times better to do this with other people than do it by myself. My daughter Carmen came with me as a last minute thing and had a good old time, just hanging out with her, which, made everything a little bit better. I got placed pretty much next to the same area that I was at a couple weeks ago for the April event, and I even found I got the same parking space, and I found a better way to access the street, so that I didn't have to even pull my car up to clean my stuff up at the end, which is wonderful. But got there, got started setting up. I didn't bring my banner because I broke it at the last show, and I was in a mood, and I didn't want to bring the old one, so I just left it. But for whatever reason, the response of the crowd this time was kind of vastly different. There was a lot of genuine interest and conversations about faith and fandom and about the church and the gospel and all the things at this show that really weren't at the last one. But yeah, it was kind of a big deal. I had a copy of book 10 on the table, because I'd only gotten one copy at that point. I have more now, but at that point I just got my test copy. But books were selling for it's not like a ton. Let me be clear. I was only there 3 hours, and I think I sold 10 books, maybe 9. But that's a lot of words and a lot of content and a lot of conversations that go out to make that happen. So I was pretty grateful for it. Carmen said that conversation-wise, and this was by her assessment, Carmen said assessment-wise, the conversations were better than some cons we've had for a whole day. I was directly next to a cookie vendor, which was nice. Directly next to a cookie vendor, and so we got cookies. The weather was glorious, about as perfect as a spring day as you could want in the evening. We were also right next to a lemonade vendor, so we got lemonade and we got cookies, and we were also on to the right was the closest bathroom was Rude Awakening's coffee shop, which is a coffee shop I am a fan of, and so you can't use the bathroom in there without buying coffee. So, oh no, my daughter had to buy me coffee so she could use the bathroom. But it was hung out. We talked to people. It was great for the little 3 hours that we were there. And people stopped by and chatted. There are people that bought books the last time that came by, had good conversations about faith. And I mean, it was kind of a blur, and honestly, because I wasn't just sitting around in my feelings alone, I was just able to enjoy things a little bit better, and I think that's just something I've got to work on in my own mental mindset. I've been out of the game. I know I'm still doing shows and stuff, but it's been a while since I've been in the full swing of cons, and so I feel like I'm out of it. and I've got to kind of get back into it to be in the right headspace. But yeah, we had some sales, did those things. At one point in time, or Carmen was walking around trying to find as many free things as she could, and so that was fun. And I did a casual Lord of the Rings outfit. My shirt from Fangirling Over Jesus that she made me, the Samwise Gamgee shirt, and I wore the One Ring with a green bandana, so I had a like an urban hobbit vibe. But at one point in time, my daughter took the One Ring and she was running around the street festival acting like nobody could see her, and that was about as delightful as of an experience as I could have had. So basically, this is just me enjoying my kids. But anyway, one of the highlights commentaries that I heard, that is one of the wildest statements I've ever heard, is a dude walked up and pointed at an Iron Man button. He said, "Oh, look, it's Marvel's cheap imitation Blue Beetle." And I just stared at that man because I was like, that statement packed a lot of audacity. A lot of audacity. But it was a good experience. There was also a baseball game happening about the same time, so there was traffic from the baseball game and stuff like that. But overall, good experience. Sold stickers, sold a couple shirts. I think I sold one shirt, maybe. Like 10 books, but had a lot of good conversations in a little 3-hour window. And saw church people. I had a long conversation with one family who I pastor the Lumberton Vertical Church, but we have one in Elizabethtown, North Carolina, and I had spoken at the Elizabethtown one last summer, or maybe the summer before. And I had a long conversation with a dude about Dungeons and Dragons because he had conflicts about not wanting to do Dungeons and Dragons because he thought it was demonic, but he wanted to play a game that was like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I'm trying to help you, but I was like, I'm not sure because I think you should just play Dungeons and Dragons. That was a year or two ago, maybe, I don't know. Well, that family ran up to me, and the husband's like, "Why do you look familiar?" And I didn't know what to say. I didn't recognize him per se off the cuff. And the wife's like, "'Cause he's your pastor." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we don't go to church anymore." But we had they've moved and they've gone to some other places, and he was like, they were asking for youth group recommendations for the area or churches to get into that would have good youth groups because they're wanting to connect their kid on that level. But yeah, that's it. That was just kind of the vibe. I got packed up pretty quickly. Me and one of my vendor friends, and my daughter went and got Taco Bell afterwards, and that was kind of the whole shindig. It was a good experience. Probably the smoothest and most received Fourth Friday event that I've been a part of. And again, it does really make a difference to have someone there with you, encouraging you and stuff. And it's a good reminder. Need to work on that. The next morning I had a yard sale. And my yard sales are basically just an excuse to clean my garage. Because at that point in time, stuff is piled up and needs to be organized. And so, yard sales are excuses to clean my garage, but, set up stuff outside in front of my house, comics, Pokemon cards, stuff like that. Or first of all, the first sale I had for the day was somebody that bought my complete Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles DVD collection that came in a turtle van. So that went out pretty quickly. And I had one dude message me on Facebook because I guess it had gotten shared. And it was a man that said he wanted to get some Pokemon cards for his son. And the man made sure to tell me in the conversation that his son was autistic. And but he brought that up as a point, and he's an older gentleman, and I think that he's wary that somebody's not gonna be kind to his kid, so I think he was throwing it out pretty loudly to make sure that when I dealt with him, I would deal kindly. I don't think you would have had to tell me that, but I rock with it. Um, but the kid had done well on his EOGs, and he wanted to bless the kid by getting him some Pokemon cards. And I was selling Pokemon cards for like 10 cents each. And so this dude came through, and he's like, "Go ahead, Pa, get you as many Pokemon cards as you want." And this kid like sorted through cards for hours, or maybe like 30 minutes, but it was a long time. But the whole time we're sitting there, the gentleman's like asking me about church policies and what kind of church I pastor and why our church believes what we believe. And so this kid's sorting through Pokemon cards, and I'm having a pretty in-depth doctrinal discussion with this gentleman. And I just thought it was kind of wild that was how it went down, that it started off with Pokemon cards and ended up with that. One of the young ladies that works in my sound and light ministry at church came by and got some comics. One of my friends from church brought me some lemonade. I mean, it was a good time and just hanging out and getting some sun and drawing. And yeah, I drew a lot to get ready for. I'm trying to refill my sketch notebook before Heroes Con. Yeah, did all that stuff. One of my friends came by and picked up a ton of board games, and then when it was about time, we packed up what was left, organized it, cleaned the garage deeply, and called it a day. So it was a nice little foray into the world of marketplacing. I got my square reader work again, which was nice. Gonna have to make sure that's up to date again before I head to Heroes Con in the future. But yeah, that's about it. It was nothing crazy for the weekend, but honestly, it was a good experience. And I felt bad. One of our friends and supporters, Jace and Lauren, stopped by my church on Sunday, and they were driving down to Florida. And I said, "Yeah, we're gonna listen to the Artist Alley Aftermath podcast on the way down." I'm like, "Which one?" She's like, "The one from Friday." I'm like, "Oh, I haven't done it yet." So, it wasn't like a crazy big event, so I wasn't in a rush to do it. But my bad for y'all that were actually waiting on this. I hope y'all have a great day. I'm heading to North Dakota in 2 days, and then to Alabama. And my next con will be Heroes Con. So I hope to see y'all real soon. Have a great day.